So what is a literature review? Well, basically, a literature review is a critical analysis and synthesis of existing research on a particular topic. It is a comprehensive summary and evaluation of relevant literature published on a topic or research question. Literature reviews are commonly used in academic research to provide a foundation for a research study or to help identify gaps in current knowledge that may warrant further investigation. The purpose of a literature review is to provide a comprehensive understanding of the current state of research on a particular topic, to identify key themes and trends in the literature, and to synthesize the findings of multiple studies to provide a cohesive overview of the topic. In a literature review, researchers may summarize, analyze, and critique existing research studies and provide insights into the direction of future research. A literature review typically begins with an introduction that provides an overview of the topic and the purpose of the review. The body of the review includes a summary of the studies analyzed, an evaluation of the quality and relevance of the studies, and a synthesis of the findings of the studies. The review may also include a discussion of any gaps in the literature, inconsistencies in the findings, or limitations of the studies analyzed. In academic writing, a literature review is often required as part of a research paper, dissertation, or thesis. It is important to follow appropriate guidelines for formatting and citing sources in a literature review, such as those outlined by the APA, American Psychological Association style. So when you do a literature review, you talk about, you not only just summarize every source, you put them all together and you synthesize what you learned. And you put them all together and you would say, after reading all of the sources, I learned that certain things are trending in this topic, such as, and so you put all of what you learn. Basically, it's a book report, yes, in a way, of everything you learn from reading all those articles. And then you're going to write, well, after reading Dr. Smith, Dr. Jones, and Dr. Chin's articles, I learned that my topic, I need to tweak my thesis to blah, 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 because Smith says blah, 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 Jones said blah, 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 and that makes my thesis not quite correct. So I'm going to tweak it to make it much more to, fit the literature review. And so basically you prove to your professor that you've read all the literature. That's another thing. That's another purpose of the literature review. I remember, and the literature review is placed not at the end of the paper. It's placed in different places depending on your department, but usually it's placed within the body of your paper, towards the beginning of your paper. During the part where, sort of like in the introduction part, if you're writing a 5-paragraph essay, it's kind of like in the introduction. And so you're telling the reader, okay, I did all this reading, and this is what I found. And so basically, it's kind of like a book report of everything that you read and how everything that you read relates to your topic. Also, number 2, literature review proves to your professor that you read everything and that you didn't just make it up off the top of your head. And so I had to I remember giving the presentation to my professor, and in order to get his signature to approve my paper and to approve my topic, I had to prove that I read everything and I knew what I was talking about. And I had to say, Dr. Jones said this, this, and this. Dr. Smith said that, and so it's kind of like an overall summary of everything that you read and how all of that relates to your thesis statement and how everything that you read relates to your topic and how you're going to use that research in your paper. So that's a literature review. It's a book report of everything you read. It's not an annotated bibliography, because in a literature review, you combine all of your articles together, okay? And then you tell the reader or the professor how that's going to relate to your paper. And then also, when you do a literature review, you also learn what gaps there are in that topic and what else needs to be researched, and also it makes the professor realize that your topic is unique. So when you do a literature review, you get to know what's already been done, what experiments have other people have already written about, because you don't want to do a paper that just duplicates what someone else has already done. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. So a good literature review also makes you an expert in that topic, because you get to know the topic. And so when you write your paper, when you're in graduate school, you have to write a paper that somebody else has not written before. Well, how do you know that nobody else has written that before? Well, that's where the literature review comes in. You got to read everyone else's paper first to figure out, oh, okay, so this is how I'm going to contribute to the body of knowledge of that topic. So, and then of course that's why you got to prove to the professor it hasn't been done before. And then you cite all the books you read, and then say, well, nobody has done this before because I did this literature review. So it's usually one chapter within your paper when you're doing a graduate paper. And so, but for English 105, your literature review is going to be at the very beginning of your first assignment. In other words, the questions of what is your paper about? Why are you writing this annotated bibliography? How are you going to fit this into your paper? Okay, that very first part where you answer all those questions, that's called a literature review. Basically, they're asking you, what's the purpose of the annotated bibliography? So that's the literature review. So all you have to do is write one page. I had to write 25 pages. When you get to the fifth year, then it becomes really, really fat, you see, what you write. But in your case, you just have to write, I guess, 1 or 2 pages of why you chose this topic, why you want to do this paper, and just answer those questions. So that's the literature review. It provides a comprehensive understanding of the current state of research, and it's usually at the very beginning of your paper. And then what is the difference between a literature review and an annotated bibliography? Well, one thing, literature review is at the beginning of your paper, inside the body of your paper, while an annotated bibliography is after the last page. And it's just a list of everything that you read, and it's just mainly a summary. At your level, it's all a summary of everything that you read. So basically, while both a literature review and an annotated bibliography involve the analysis and synthesis of existing research, there are some key differences between the two. A literature review is a comprehensive evaluation of existing research on a particular topic. It typically provides an overview of the current state of research and identifies key themes and trends in the literature and synthesizes the findings of multiple studies to provide a cohesive overview of the study. In a literature review, the researcher may summarize, analyze, and critique existing research studies and provide insights into the direction of future research. An annotated bibliography, on the other hand, is a list of sources on a particular topic, each accompanied by a brief summary and evaluation of the source. An annotated bibliography typically includes a citation for each source, followed by a paragraph or two summarizing the key findings, methods, and conclusions of the source. The summary may also include an evaluation of the source's relevance, quality, and credibility. In essence, a literature review provides a comprehensive analysis and synthesis of existing research on a particular topic, while an annotated bibliography provides a list of sources on a particular topic with brief summaries and evaluations of each source. Another key difference between the two is the purpose they serve. A literature review is used as a foundation for a research study or to identify gaps in current knowledge that may warrant further investigation. In other words, you have to prove to the professor that your topic has not been done before, and if you want his signature, you better know your stuff. And you got to prove to him you read all these articles and then whereas an annotated bibliography, on the other hand, is often used to provide an overview of the literature on a particular topic and to demonstrate the reader's familiarity with the existing literature. Well, for me, the annotated bibliography just served as a kind of dictionary or kind of like a dictionary. So that way I could keep track of all the 100 or so articles that I eventually accumulated for that paper. No way could I remember everything. So for me, it was just a list to keep track of what it was that I had researched. So example of a literature review. Title of the paper: Effects of Social Media on Mental Health, a comprehensive review of existing literature. So here you have an example of a literature review. Introduction. This literature review aims to provide a comprehensive overview of existing research on the effects of social media on mental health. The review will examine the key themes and trends in the literature, synthesize the findings of multiple studies, and provide insights into the direction of future research. Body. The review will begin by summarizing the current state of research on the topic, including key findings and limitations of existing studies. It will then examine the various ways in which social media use has been linked to mental health outcomes such as depression, anxiety, and stress. The review will also consider the potential moderators and mediators of these relationships such as gender, age, and social support. Finally, the review will discuss the implications of the existing research for mental health professionals and provide recommendations for future research. So that's an example of a literature review. And so for me, it was like 20 pages at the very beginning of the paper. And then example of an annotated bibliography. Okay, this was the end of the paper. And if I have the time, I'll show you my thesis. Then I'll show you the thick chapter I had to write for the literature review, and then at the very end of the paper, I'll flip through the pages of what it looked like at the very end. So example of an annotated bibliography, so it's at the end of the paper. So here you have your list of sources, and then you summarize the source. So that's all an annotated bibliography is. In this meta-analysis, Smith examines the relationship between social media use and depression and anxiety. The study synthesizes the findings of multiple studies and provides evidence for a significant positive relationship between social media use and depression and anxiety. And then for number 2, Brown investigates the potential mediator effect of social support on the relationship between social media use and stress. The study provides evidence for the moderating effect of social support on this relationship, indicating that social support may buffer the negative effects of social media use on stress. Chen examines the relationship between social media use and sleep quality and duration in a longitudinal study. The study provides evidence for a negative relationship between social media use and sleep quality and duration over time. As you can see, the literature review provides a comprehensive analysis and synthesis of existing research on the effects of social media on mental health, while the annotated bibliography provides a list of sources on the same topic with brief summaries and evaluations of each source. And so for your first assignment, part 1, all you have to do is just give me that one-page literature review of why you chose the topic, and then find me 3 credible sources and using Kapow. So that's it for part 1. Part 2, you're going to find me 3 peer-reviewed sources using Google Scholar, and then part 3, you're going to put the whole thing together. That's it. So that's part 1, part 2, part 3, and that's your whole annotated bibliography literature review. And then for your second essay, you're going to write the abstract, you're going to write a argumentative essay with a counter-argument rebuttal paragraph, and then you're going to conclude with a annotated bibliography of that argumentative essay. So you apply everything that you learn from this, from essay, from the first assignment, and you apply it to the second assignment. And then that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime.